goes to Billy Blember and Leeds United.
I think it's a very sad day for Leeds. I think it's slightly sad for football.
This is an adventure, and I hope we can go a long way as an adventure.
We lived the dream. We enjoyed the dream.
I look on them all, every one of them in this club, as my own son.
In the second division, morale was as low as the league position. In fact, the atmosphere at a fairly desolate Elland Road
Really wanted to do, even when I was a player. And I set up this youth policy because we had no money, we were £250,000 in the red. And I just got stuck into it, and good backroom staff, and off we went.
Hello, we are the Redley Boys. Hello, we are the Redley Boys. We're gonna win the Fairs Cup, we're gonna win the league. We will follow United.
As a player, Reevy had always been considered a forward thinker on the game. And within days of his arrival, a new training and fitness regime had been put in place, with the emphasis on bonding the players into a strong unit. On the recruitment front, it took all powers of persuasion to lure good players into the second division.
People said to me, why did you go to Leeds? Because there was 30-odd teams trying to sign me, including the Manchester Uniteds, the Chelseas, Rangers and Celtic in Scotland. And I came to Leeds, who were a second division side. But I'd been down on several occasions, and I'd worked with the young players, and I'd seen how good of players they were. And Don had impressed himself on my family greatly.
When I was a player, I played for 5 clubs, and I think it was only the first club I played for, Leicester City, that was made feel part of the club. Other clubs I played for, I think you're only a number, and nobody took a real interest in your family or what was happening to you. You trained and you played, and I've tried to create a family spirit right from the off.
My mother was ill, and he'd got to hear about it, and I got back from training. Obviously rung my mother up just to see how she was. She says, I wonder if she said, I got a lovely basket of fruit and a bunch of flowers from Mr. Revy. Now, you know, he was looking after not only us, he was looking after our families, and he was aware of your family, and he realised how important it was that your family life, your home life and everything had to be right for you to be concentrating on the job on the field.
The first sign that Reevy meant business came with the purchase of Scotland's Bobby Collins from one of the country's top clubs, Everton.
Bobby Collins, evil little man, but what a player, what a competitor. And he got through to the rest of the team.
you never give up, you fought for every ball, you tackled hard you never tackled before. When you lost the ball, you chased to get it back. Everything was taught, and if you didn't do that, Bobby Collins was straight over to you.
One of the huge reasons I went to Leeds was that Bobby Collins was there. And Bobby Collins was an idol of mine when I was a kid, when he was playing for Saturday Night. He was a great player. And I thought, well, if Bobby Collins is there, Leeds have a good chance of doing something.
Johnny Giles forsook Manchester United to join the Reeve Revolution. He was to prove a key signing.
Well, I noticed a difference when I came from Old Trafford. And they didn't have, I don't think they had the togetherness that the Leeds lads had. And I noticed that immediately when I got to Leeds, that there was a special spirit about the place.
Reeve was prepared to embrace anything that might reverse the Leeds' decline. Nothing was too outlandish.
Got a black magic woman.
Gypsies used to live on Ellen Road before it was a football ground. And I got this letter one day saying that there's a curse put on the ground by the Gypsies when they were moved off for it to be a football ground. And the only way I could get the curse moved was getting a practicing Gypsy to come to the ground. So anyway, cut a long story short, I sent over to Blackpool a car to bring Gypsy Rose Lee, was her name, to the ground. She shifted everybody out the ground except me, the office staff, the groundsmen, the cleaning women. And she went out on the ground, stood in the middle of the pitch, scratched the grass, threw some seeds down, went in each corner flag and did the same. Came off the pitch, came in my office with a cup of tea, and she said, now you'll start winning things. And we did from that year on.
You got your spell on me, baby.
I'm a superstitious man. I have the same blue suit on that I've had since the first match of the season, same lucky tie, one or two lucky charms in my pocket. I have a spot up here. I walk up to the traffic lights every time, and I turn and walk back to the hotel.
The suit he wore, it was in blue mohair, and you could see his underpants through it, was so worn on the backside, but he wouldn't change it, you know, and it was quite embarrassing, you know. I think he had to wear his coat even in summer to cover up, but obviously in the dressing room when he took his coat off and turned round, it was threadbare, but he wouldn't change that suit.
At the end of Reeve's first full season, Leeds narrowly avoided relegation. But rather than changing the players or the tactics, he changed the kit. There were mind games even then.
Don had this dream, we'll wear a white shirt, because if you want to be the best, you've got to look like the best, who was Real Madrid at that time.
We changed all the strip and travel first class and got the best kit for the lads and the best balls and the best boots and made them feel big.
None bigger than John Charles, re-signed by the club in 1962 after 5 glorious years with Juventus. However, the great Welshman had seen the better part of his career, and after only 11 games, Leeds cashed in their chips and sold him back to Italy. Reeve was nothing if not radical. The next experiment, to drop nearly half the team and replace them with a bunch of teenagers.
They all made the debut at Swansea, and he made me captain. But I was the only one, virtually, of the whole senior players that was left in the side. And we won. And then at that time we were at the bottom of the league, or nearly at the bottom. And from that day we went 10 games and we never lost a game.
And so, out of adversity was formed the backbone of the Leeds United team that would be the best in the land for much of the next decade. They gained promotion to the top division in 1964. The manager had instilled a hunger and togetherness that made Leeds formidable opponents in every sense. They would never take a backward step.
We wanted to get out of the second division, we wanted to do well. I said that they were the most professional outfit in the business, and I said that in about 64, 65. And that word, they didn't take the word right, because professionalism meant that they wanted to train hard, they wanted to live right, they wanted to improve themselves, they wanted to be the best side in the world. And everybody didn't realise all the things well, the word professional covers. And everybody thought that meant, that word, it was hard, they would kick people and they would brush people to one side just with sheer power, and nobody gave them the credit for the tremendous ability that was in the side.
I think we were more cynical and applied gamesmanship in the early days when we were coming out of the second division in the first year in the first division. And I think that stuck with us. And we never got credit for becoming a great side, and I believe we became a great side.
In those times, I thought that was a bit unfair, you know, because I think a lot of people forgot about the brilliant football that we played there. And let's face it, if you're playing football, when you've got the ball, you play it. And when they've got it, you don't let them play. And fortunately, or unfortunately, whatever you may think, we were like this. And all we knew about was winning. And it's a man's game, isn't it?
Leeds finished runners-up on goal difference behind league champions Manchester United and then faced Liverpool in their first ever FA Cup final. They scored the goal of the game through Billy Bremner, and although they lost 2-1, the name of Leeds United had now been firmly established among the elite, eliciting respect and even among the hardest of opponents, just a hint of fear.
Billy never took any prisoners. I mean, Johnny Giles, oh, dear me, don't turn your back. You know, Big Jack and Norman, anything that moved Norman was, you know, like he says, Don Revie used to tell him, you win the ball, son, and give it to somebody who can play.
There were so many things talked about Leeds United doing the kicking, you know. But at the end they say that I was a bit fiery. And the reason I was fiery is, if I seen someone kick the opposition, kick my own players, then I got a bit upset about it, you know. So there was two sides doing the kicking, like, you know.
Mainly it came out of London because they couldn't beat us in London, and the press in London didn't like Leeds United, and so you know we were always the villains of the piece, but we could play a little bit as well.
Yes, we were physical, not all of us, but we were a physical side. But the game was physical in them days. Every team had the Chopper Harris at Chelsea, Peter the Assassin Story at Arsenal, Tommy I'll Break Your Back Smith at Liverpool, Norman Bites Your Legs was ours. And they didn't get names for that because they were nice guys. It was because that was the way they played the game, and these was the things they would say to you.
And now the book comes out, and he's sending Smith off.
You don't get a team who was cynical, as they said Leeds were, with a gang of no-hopers. They're all internationals, the same as Liverpool were.
It was the climate at the time in the 60s and 70s. It's different to today, where you know, if you look sideways at a player now, you're getting booked. I mean, it was you had to be able to look after yourself to survive. If you didn't do that, and that was only to give you a license to play. I mean, I'm a small fella, and I was regarded as a skillful player. Well, if you're regarded as a skillful player, you're naturally a target for the opposition, because I knew before they went out they would say, first chance you get stuck into this fella, let him know you're playing, as they say in football, and try and put him out of the game like that. Well, my attitude to that was, well, I'll give you as good as I get, and then I'll go and play.
In 1968, manager Don Revie and his Leeds team broke new ground by winning the club's first major trophy. Nearly half a century of largely mundane football had brought a couple of second division championships to the city. This time, led by skipper Billy Bremner, the prize was altogether bigger. The League Cup, won at Wembley against Arsenal. It was far from pretty, but to Leeds that mattered not one jot.
There seemed to be vendettas going on right from the first kick of the ball, and it was a nothing game, and really no team really deserved to win it. But the reason we won it was because of only a spectacular goal. I can remember it distinctly. It was Coops. It was a free. It would have been a free kick nowadays, to be fair. The Arsenal players and Frank McClintock and Ian Ewan and all them were screaming at the referee. And as I say, is that if it had been the same situation, if someone had barged into Gary Sprake at that particular instant, we would have been all round the referee, because it really should have been a free kick. There was a couple of ugly incidents on that. I don't think anybody looking back on it really relishes looking at it again. But that shows you how competitive the game was in that day. But the second half, like you say, there was an incident with Gary, and I think he followed through as Gary came out with the ball, and it started a wee skirmish again. And that. But that was part and parcel of the game. It was always going to be a very difficult game. There was always, no matter if you're one up, you're still walking the tightrope, and you're dying for the referee to blow his whistle. And when he eventually did, I think it was a great relief for everybody concerned, because it was, besides we had won the second division championship, but it was really the first major honour that the club had won, and we were delighted that we were part of the history of the club at that particular time.
By this stage, Leeds had established themselves as a growing force in Europe. Eden Airport became a regular starting point for trips to the continent, although the club's run to the 1967 Fairs Cup final was not without its controversial moments. In round 3 against Valencia, the players were ordered off the pitch by the referee to calm down. And the quarter-final against Bologna was decided by the toss of a coin. Level after extra time, and with penalty shootouts just a glint in some distant Eurocrat's eye, Billy Bremner called correctly. Leeds lost the first leg of the final 2-0 to Dynamo Zagreb. When the Yugoslavs came to Elland Road for the return, they were battered but remained unbowed. Silver medals for Leeds this time. They wouldn't have to wait long to claim the trophy as their own, and supporters and players alike simply couldn't get enough of Europe.
European football in them days was just really taking off. It was the beginning, really. And for the fans to be able to go on hired planes, I mean, they weren't the jets you see nowadays holding, 300 and 400 people. They were the old turboprop things that would get you there in 3 or 4 hours.
In our team, we got the best team in the land. We got Paul Reading. In our team, we got Paul Reading. In our team, we got Paul Reading. In our team, we got the best team in the land.
The trips to places like Leipzig and that, where you'd fly to West Germany and have to get off and go on a bus through checkpoint and then 3 hours across bumpy roads in East Germany. And the fans, these European matches, what it's all about. It was great for them then, it was new for them.
United, 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 United. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. To hell with Man United, to hell with Liverpool. For we fight for United till we win the Football League.
1 year on, and Mick Jones, winner in the first leg of the 1968 Fairs Cup final, meant a draw would be enough to secure the trophy when Leeds travelled to Budapest. The forbidding NEP Stadium was full to its 76,000 capacity. If they'd come expecting a thriller, the Hungarian spectators were to be sorely disappointed. Unsurprisingly, the Leeds approach was merely to hold on to their narrow aggregate lead. Plenty of tenacity, plus a spot of time wasting, was sufficient.
You've come a long way to watch a football match. Do you think it was worth it?
It was well worth it. It was worth twice. I think it was worth the money twice over.
Have you been abroad with Leeds before?
No, not before.
It's the first time, then?
Yes.
Did you think it was worth it?
Yes.
Even though it was a draw?
Even though it was a draw, yes.
You sound a bit hoarse. Did you have a good evening?
I had a good night out, but I lost my voice at the match.
And this was worth anything, a fortnight's holiday to you, was it?
It was. 2 days here. Can go back to work refreshed.
There was 2 big clocks at each end of the ground, and I think they must have known at 8:15 that they were close to winning that Intercities Fairs Cup. And when they played about 4 minutes extra time, injury time, I nearly died 1,000 deaths.
Don would always let us... I mean, he used to say when we go abroad, he would say, after the match you can go for a drink, but I want you in by 12 o'clock.
You were pals with the press guys. You went out for a drink after. There was a press, there were the fans, there were the players, all having a drink.
We used to send the press lads out to look for the best nightclubs or the best bars or the best whatever you wanted after the game. And they used to come back and tell you, and then we'd all go together. But nothing was ever reported about what went on in the bars, no photographs of you drunk or whatever. There's none of that.
Billy was a character after the game. He loved his drink. He loved, the winning, and he loved to have a drink and get, maybe sometimes he'd have one too many, like we all did.
He was very untidy. He used to leave his vests. He used to sleep in a vest, Billy. And in the morning he'd get up and he'd take his vest off and he'd go in the bathroom. And I would be tidying the room up a little bit and putting things away. And I would very often pick Billy's vest up and put it in me, never his underpants, he used to kick him under the bed. But he used to pick his vest up and I'd find it and I'd put it on the bed and then I'd maybe put it into my bag. And the number of times to this day, I'm not kidding, to this day, I can go in my drawer at home and pull a vest out and put it on and it comes up to there. And it's one of Billy's.
By 1969, Leeds had become England's top team. The league table said so.
Chance, that's it! That's it! Nick Jones! To Ichiku Park. Nice play. Oh, great goal! What a great goal! It's troublesome, yes! Jones through! Oh, well taken! Final goal for Leeds United!
Fantastic when you think that we've played 38 matches, only lost 2, 61 points, and Liverpool are still behind us.
And there they would stay. Indeed, with a sense of occasion, Leeds clinched their first league championship at Anfield. All they needed was a point, and a goalless draw secured it. From second division relegation candidates to the pinnacle of English football in 8 eventful years.
We came off the field, and the police came and said, would we go back? The crowd wanted us to go back on the field, and we thought it was be the Leeds. When we went back on, the whole of the Liverpool crowd had stayed as well. And it was like a huge party in the middle.
A chant started from the Kop, and it was champions. And it got louder and louder. And Don said, have you heard that? He says, if that is an accolade, that the Kop are hailing you as the champions. And he says to Billy, take the boys up there and give them a wave. And as we went up, it got louder and louder, and it went all round the stadium. The Liverpool fans, you know, congratulating us on being champions.
There's the respect that both clubs had for each other. I mean, they'd won the championship, and the league doesn't tell lies, and they got the ovation they deserved. It's as simple as that.
Bill Shank and I were very close. He used to phone me every Saturday night before match of the day. And he came in the dressing room after that game with all the Liverpool players still in the strip with a bottle of champagne each for our lads. And he'd give them all the champagne. He said, Don, can I just have a minute? So I said to the lads, let's be quiet, Mr. Shankly wants to say something. And he said, all I've got to say to you boys, you're a great side and you deserve to win it. You didn't pinch it, you didn't fluke it, you're a wonderful team. Now, coming from Shanks, that was praise indeed.
Tonight, thousands have come here to pay tribute to a great football team. Their football team, Leeds United. And there it is. That's what all the excitement, all the fuss, all the drama is about.
On behalf of the boys and myself, I'd like to thank you for the wonderful support you've given us this year. Not only at Elm Road, but also away from home. Especially you boys and moved from the scratcher shed up the other end. We really appreciate it. And I also hope that next year it will be even more successful than this season has been. Thank you.
Next week,
there was absolutely no question at all that Don Revie was trying to fix football matches.